Hello, we are Drafty Studios, and in our partnership with Rockstar Games, we are here to present Glide. I'm Nicole Stocks. I am a co-producer and a VFX artist on this project.
I'm Jameson Piper. I'm a co-producer, UI level designer on this project.
I'm Chris Cardeman, and I'm going to be working as a systems programmer.
Hi, I'm Peter, and I'm one of the gameplay programmers.
I'm Karan Singh. I'm a gameplay programmer.
Hi, I'm Wesley Chun. I'm one of the 3D artists on the project.
Hi, I'm Dylan Marks, and I'm a 3D artist.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yuchen Zhang. I'm the 2D artist for this project.
My name is Raymond Foster, and I worked as a level designer on this project.
Glide is a 3D platforming exploration game in which the player uses gliding mechanics to travel between floating islands to solve puzzles in order to restore them to their original positions.
There are several features that define our game idea, the first, of course, being gliding between floating islands in the skies. We want to give the player an airy feeling and loose control while gliding around. We also want the player to feel the power of harnessing winds with their staff and using wind as a mechanic while on land. Another feature of our game is the ability to change the time of day with a sundial-like mechanism to aid the player with puzzles that revolve around wind streams, because those behave differently according to the time of day. A mechanic we've added is a whistle mechanic, which is a skill the player has that allows them to call upon wind spirits that help complete puzzles. Finally, one of the primary features of the game is octahedron crystals around the island that both guide the player and act as puzzle elements. When we put all of those features together, we have a game loop that looks something like gliding to an island, and once you land, you'll use your wind-related mechanics to restore crystals with air, and while you're doing this, you're able to find notes and messages from prior generations to uncover the history of the civilization and solve puzzles with what you learn, and ultimately solve the main puzzle on the island with the power of wind in order to align the island with the others and restore it to its original position.
The first game we looked at for inspiration was Omno. Omno is a single-player puzzle adventure game where you explore these open zones and solve puzzles to progress further through the story and game. Our main takeaways from Omno is a guided exploration through these contained and curated levels and the simple yet beautiful art style. For the second game we looked at for inspiration was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and how they designed their puzzles using wind and the Force. So in the game, the player uses these wind sources, either from air ducts or these just magical sources of air, or the Force that the Jedi has, to manipulate things in the environment to progress further through the game. Fallen Order also has a really good ability game progression, so the puzzles never get too overwhelming for the player. So they're simple, but they're still really complex to solve.
Another game that influenced us was Ghost of Tsushima. In the game, rather than having objective markers to navigate, the player is guided by powerful winds that are visualized both through faint lines and the typical winds that you think of, but also using tall grass and fluid trees that blow in the target direction.
In terms of the 2D concept art, we made two concept art during the sprint: the environment concept and the top-down island map. The main theme of the game is like a combination of the realistic style and the cartoony style. In this project, we want to make the game have a bright and airy fluid feeling, the floating island just like the palace in the clouds. And thus we use a lot of bright colors in the concept. And for the map concept, this top-down map is more like a guidance that allows players to find a way in the game, for there will be different puzzles in different islands. And of course, we will remake this map according to the final level design.
For the character design of the game, we wanted to spend time in the concept phase to make sure that our character fits the world they're in and vice versa. Some of the characters we took inspiration from are seen on the left because we like the stylized, humanoid characters that are simple and low poly but still human enough to relate to as a player. And the clothing needs to convey the freedom and movement that air and wind hold while adhering to the low poly aesthetic as well. And some of the qualities of air include symmetry and balance, which we want to reflect in character design with both the clothing and also coloration. And so as you can see on the right, we have gentle, cool tones for palettes and organic flowing shapes, as well as the more geometric symbol that represents air.
For prop art, the two main items we plan to have are the staff and the glider. On the left is the mood board for the staff, which acts as a multi-tool for completing puzzles while playing. It features a crescent moon staff with a spherical sundial floating inside the crescent, as well as having an ornament-like wind chime on the staff. On the right is the mood board for the glider. We are going for a wooden hang glider kind of style, where the player will grab the handles and hang under the glider. It will most likely be wooden, reinforced with a metal like aluminum, with a canvas-like material as the actual sail part. Games like Fortnite and Breath of the Wild feature these kind of gliders and will play a large part in the overall design of the glider.
And for the environment art for the game, we're going for that stylized low poly look just because we have so much to make in such a limited time. We're going to have a focus on lighting and post-processing to give it that like ethereal feel that you can see in the picture in the top left. We also want to have this like where the islands are really like we want the islands to feel like shattered pieces of land. So we want to have like a big chunk and then some smaller chunks off to the side of it that are like floating, they're bobbing up and down, they're spinning, just to give it that ethereal and like palace in the sky type deal.
Glide is a game experienced from the third-person perspective, so one of the main challenges we faced this sprint was getting a working third-person camera setup that would properly interact with both the character and the environment. To do this, we're utilizing Cinemachine with a free-look camera that follows the player. Cinemachine has been super helpful to work with and is incredibly powerful. The free-look camera operates on a set of bounds depending on where the camera is currently located. In the image, these are outlined in red to give an idea of the angles our camera could utilize. Something we also wanted to target is both controller and keyboard and mouse support, so that Glide can be a multi-platform experience. One of the primary mechanics that we're aiming to create is a dynamic day and night cycle that changes how the player interacts with their environment. Besides simple aesthetics, which are also a key goal, we're planning to use these day and night cycles to influence how powerful wind zones are. For example, during night, wind may calm down and let you through a once-blocked passage. Currently, we've developed a time management script that will tick over a period of time and adjust values accordingly. The next steps with this are going to be connecting it to a user interface element, such as a draggable sundial that the player will use to change the time of day. Additionally, the programming team is going to be working closely with the art team to nail down lighting, colors, and other ambient effects.
In terms of movement, we wanted the player to have a good flow to their controls in order to fit the themes of air and exploration. We've implemented a simple keyboard and mouse system, along with a dash and double jump, which will allow for a smoother feel to the movement. There's also preliminary trail effects to help enhance that feeling of flow that we were talking about.
When it came to gliding, we wanted to use turning via mouse movement as the main horizontal movement mechanic, as well as tilting via WASD for slight adjustments in any direction. Additionally, for vertical, or in this case downward movement, we wanted to utilize redeploying the glider. We also created the Island Manager script, which returns an island to a previously defined position and rotation. And what this does is it allows designers to design all of the islands in one cohesive map as opposed to individual locations.
For our prototype, we created very rough blockouts of the islands, making them different sizes to get a better idea of how much space we would want for our puzzles. We also were able to get the Island Manager script working to be able to put these islands back together, which will make implementation easier for our first playable. Throughout this first sprint, we all focused on why these islands are being split apart and what the story is behind it, which the creative process is much easier when you have a bunch of minds working together.
Looking at the design side of our puzzles, we are leaning into creating environmental challenges through the use of our primary mechanics of gliding, wind blasts, whistles to summon spirits, and the sundial to change the time of day. And what that might look like in-game is using wind blasts to aerate crystals to help guide the player throughout the islands and puzzles, or the player might have to use the sundial to change the time of day to decrease the force behind certain airstreams blocking their path. We've also gone through several iterations of our puzzle designs and have been using sketches and physical prototypes to help determine the viability of these puzzles, and we will continue to use these and improve on these techniques going forward as we try to improve puzzle difficulty and fitting them into the environment.
Thank you for watching, and we hope you're excited to hear more about Glide.